Julie, just before the commercial break, you were sharing a quote, and please continue on.
Yeah, it's a quote by Martin Luther King, and he said that it's the strong man is the man who will not hit back, who can stand up for his rights and yet not hit back. And I think that's what takes true resolve. In some sense, it's easy to engage in action and it's very easy to react, right? It would be very easy, I think, in this situation where citizens have, for a couple of years now, increasingly felt the encroachment of government into their personal lives, into the rights they have to protect their families and raise their children as they see fit. But it takes, I think, an incredible amount of courage to not react when you're provoked. And there's some really interesting questions, I think, about, what are the limits of civil disobedience? And what does it mean to respect justice while you are being civilly disobedient? Not all acts of civil disobedience in a democracy are unjust, in my belief. And that's what we're seeing. That's the messaging we're getting from our federal government and I think our Ontario provincial government, which is that the mere act of resisting a government order is unjust civil disobedience.
And, protests aren't foreign to Canada. We had many actually just before we entered COVID. There was the rail blockades during the first, COVID wave, the first lockdowns. We had the BLM protests. And one thing and one image that remains in my mind, and I'll put up on the camera here, is when Justin Trudeau met with the protesters and actually joined in on the protest, which I found kind of interesting because it was a protest against government and police, and then the Prime Minister himself joined in. So it was complicated to understand that. To my knowledge, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, has not met with the protesters yet.
And has said he will not.
What does that mean for democracy when we have, 1 million plus Canadians at the foot of Parliament, at the seat of democracy in this country, and, the one holding the lever of power will not meet?
I think it means a lot. And I think I think regardless of what side of this issue you're on, regardless of what you think about the government's COVID response, this should be a sign. The fact that there are events going on at the base of Parliament Hill most of the day, every day now for the last 2+ weeks. And while that's happening, MPs are meeting in the House and having these higher level removed discussions about democracy in Canada. I mean, in some sense, nothing could be more obtuse or more undemocratic than that. I gave a speech that was part of the convoy events 2 Mondays ago now, I guess 2 weeks ago exactly. And halfway through the speech, it was so cold, the audio cut out. And so we had to do something. The crowd started chanting, "Meet with us, meet with us." That's what they're asking. Right? The truckers who are Canadian citizens, the people who are there, a very diverse crowd. There are Blacks, whites, East Asians, young, old, Indigenous people. They're asking for the federal government to meet with them politically, but they're also asking for the federal government to produce their top medical and scientific experts to explain and try to justify these mandates. And they haven't shown up.
Right. And again, it's I think it's a negative on Canada's democracy, and it's somewhat embarrassing because I've seen international media reports reporting on the fact that the protests will continue and the Prime Minister has yet to meet with them. And I think, again, Canada being a very decent, a very calm, a very peace-loving country, that, extending that olive branch or just sitting and having that dialogue, that is a basic form of decency. So I would like to see that happen. It's my prayer that will happen. We will see. We only have 45 seconds left. How long will the truckers stay? How long will they last? When do people get worn out on either side? 40 seconds.
I mean, only they can know that, and they might not even know that. I think they have withstood a lot more physically and psychologically and morally than anyone would have expected them to. But I can say that in speaking with a lot of them, they are very resolute. But I think we are in a major political crisis in Canada, Tanya. And if the mandates lift, that's not the end of this. We have a lot of repair to do. We need to do a lot of thinking and understanding about our Constitution, our democracy, our country moving forward so that we make sure that something like this doesn't happen again.